Well, thank you for coming to Bob Talk. I am actually doing a short, brief interview with Pastor Joseph Lee of KIMNET and KAGMA. 박수.
Hello.
Hey, Pastor Lee, we want to honor Pastor Samuel Choe, my spiritual father and the founder of KWMC and KWMA. I just want to go on record to clarify that he is the founder, because I met so many missionaries all over the world who doesn't have a clue. They're claiming someone else founded, but you and I know that's not true.
Yes.
We want to go on record. We would like to publish a book, and we would like to tell the world, no, it's Pastor Sam Choe and his family paid the price to start KWMA and KWMC. So anyways, you work with KIMNET for a very long time and still working with them. Tell us briefly about what KIMNET is about, how you got involved, and who Pastor Sam Choe is to you.
I think it was 14 years ago.
I cannot hear you. You gotta put on the mic.
Oh, my mic's muted?
Yeah, okay, now I could hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Maybe you turned it off. Okay. Well, I think it was 14 years ago, year 2007, I met up with Pastor Choe, Samuel Choe. I was working currently at the Jesus Film Project in San Clemente, California, and then they were about to move to Orlando. And so in that transitioning period, they were doing more of meetings on the Unreached, Unengaged People Group, UUPG. And so I met up with Pastor Choe in one of the joint meetings with KIMNET. KIMNET stands for Korean Intermissions Network, where they partner and as well as, get all the mission agencies as well as the Korean churches in the North America and also in Canada together for concerted effort of global mission. And so I met up with him in 2007 in a meeting together in New York, in fact. And so Pastor Choe, after meeting together and having that UUPG meeting with KIMNET, it was Global System Partners, which was from the Jesus Film Project. So we got together, and Pastor Choe actually invited me to work with him at KIMNET. So I've known him since 14 years now, 14 years ago. For him, he's really, I would say he's been really caring for whoever he works with. So he was really watching out for me. I think for the last 14 years, except for last 2 years, every Christmas time, he sent me gifts during Christmas, and then even recognized some part of my birthday even. And so he's always caring and watching out for his people for like long haul. Even today, he's continually thinking about me and how we could work together and what my future will hold. He's always thinking about that. So he's a very caring person to me, in my opinion. Okay.
Well, so if you could summarize your 14 years of experience with him in one word, what would be? How would you describe his leadership?
I would say his leadership is very perpetual as well as persistent. He has a persistent leadership style. And I also have a story that goes with it. Can I share that story?
Sure.
I think it was early 2008 when Pastor Choe actually went to IHOP, Kansas City. He stayed there for 3 months to invite Mike Bickle and Misty Edwards to the October meeting. I think during that time, Mike Bickle had never traveled out to a Korean church, and it was the very first time. And he didn't want to go out of his boundaries of IHOP in Kansas City to travel even places like Fullerton, California. But Pastor Choe there went to IHOP and stayed there for 3 months in the prayer house there. And after 3 months was over, Mike Bickle, said, "I'll come." And so he actually came to that meeting, and I really call that a perpetual, persistent leadership. He went there and really stayed with them and to pray there for that meeting, inviting him. So that's one story that I have for in terms of this
So are you saying that Pastor Sam stayed at IHOP for sole intention of inviting Pastor Mike Bickle to Fullerton meeting at GMI?
Yes. It was that year that actually that meeting, it was the International Prayer Conference for All Nations. That's what actually birthed out of that meeting. But it was for the UPG and the mission purposes. So I think that was the largest gathering ever that KIMNET had. Over the evening times, 2,500 people came. During the daytime, the attendance was 800 people had registered actually. So it was the biggest, largest meeting that KIMNET ever had and hosted.
I didn't know that, because actually I was part of the Fullerton meeting. I preached after Mike Bickle, but I didn't know that Pastor Sam stayed 3 months at IHOP to make that happen. Yeah. Mike Bickle brought his worship leader. What was his name?
Misty Edwards.
Yeah. So
right.
When I led worship, when I preached for that meeting, I thought all the second gen came to see me, but they all came to hear her worship. Even my friends were there, like, "Wow, thank you. You came for me." I said, "No, we came for the worship leader." But anyways, okay, that's a wonderful thing. Perpetual, persistent. But is that also? It could also mean stubborn, isn't it? Because your greatest strength could be your greatest weakness. So we don't want to, of course, we're not saying anything negative, but what were the instances that they may be his greatest strength could have become a negative effect? Do you have a story?
Indeed, he is very persistent and, perpetual, meaning ongoing, to make that decision. But I think his weakness would be he's making decisions too quickly. So for example, if there was a meeting coming up within 6-7 months later, within 2 days, he would set up a meeting. He would think in his mind all the people to invite and, all the speakers, as well as all the, track people, the workshop, everything. He would just like strategize this in his brain, in his head, and make the quick decision. And he pushes that. And so as someone, working under him, that was kind of not easy to follow, but at times it was very charismatic kind of a leadership where he actually pulled people together. And I don't think there's anyone that could do that fast,
Right.
But I think it could be one of his weaknesses.
Right. So just building up on what you just said, but isn't it amazing? You've experienced it for 14 years, and my time was very similar or even longer, but because I met him before New York, way before. So, but I'm constantly amazed at how he can pick up a phone and who's who of Christian circle all over the world make their effort, spend their money to fly in and pay their hotel fee, and then work with him, the network. What do you think is the key element, other than you said that caring and long-term?
Yeah, actually, I think it is the caring part, because what I heard when I was working full-time at the Fullerton, California KIMNET office there, I was there for 2 years at full-time, and I received many phone calls from pastors who really praised Pastor Samuel Choe. And there weren't that many people who praised him, but when they praised him, they were all saying, "Oh, he's my unin. He's my unin. He connected me to different ministries, different senior pastors, different missionaries." They were all indebted to him somehow. So it seems like that series of networks that he has built up, from previously, he's always had connections to connect other people to better serve in God's kingdom in that way. So it seems like he's like a placement director. It seems he's always placing someone to a different location to do better, serve the Lord in a better way. So everyone has really been connected. Even you might know Pastor Unmu Lee. He's actually one of the earlier people that Pastor Samuel Choe helped him to place, and I saw him later on even to the New York Promise Church, that he was actually placed there later. So Pastor Choe, Samuel Choe, he always invited that connection to the next connection. So that's what I've seen, and I think that's what makes that tight-knit connections of networking that he already had. So when people call upon others, they're all connected. There's no way they could say back out and I cannot come kind of thing, Seems like they have to come.
Right. They're indebted personally.
Sure.
Personal care. He's the benefactor. He is selfless. He loves to promote others. He really rejoices in others people's success. And what you're saying is I'm in full agreement. And when I saw his selflessness in promoting a big meeting, he's never the keynote speaker. He's
Sure,
never
he's always behind the scene. Yeah, he's always behind the scene.
Yeah, he runs the show, but he does not bring attention to himself. He really rejoices when someone younger, someone different gets promoted, get recognized, and even considered to be cult by most of the organizations of Christian circles. He intentionally bring them and promote them and give them the platform. So I think maybe we could talk about like United UBF, United Bible Fellowship, or is it University Bible Fellowship, UBF? Well, it was a large controversy. There was a lot of books written against them, and yet he brings the whole leadership into KIMNET. And now they are very much part of the evangelical circles of Korean Christianity, which I think it comes out of the personal caring, benefactoring, promoting, selflessness. And you mentioned Lee Eun-moo, and he's the next person I'm going to interview in English, because I would like to really hear these kind of stories about who he is, because what you're saying is I'm in full agreement. Yeah, he's all that to me as well. So
actually, UBF, I grew up in Chicago, so the headquarters of Chicago UBF, was located in Artesia Boulevard, and that's the place that my old church used to be, and the UBF moved into that building. And then, so I remember very clearly about UBF, University Bible Fellowship. And then later on, I was introduced to UBF. So I know that they were very considered not so evangelical, very even in a cultic way, even because they were in-house kind of a University Bible Fellowship kind of thing. So because of that, but then Pastor Choe, UBF is the same way, even GMI, Grace Korean Church. And he whenever Pastor Choe sees someone who's some organization or someone who's missional, he's always, gravitating to them and then pulling them in and saying, we got to partner and network together. So UBF was one of the organization. And I was amazed that, we learned so much from UBF. They're doing so much evangelism, and they're witnessing, in the campuses as well as their chapters. They have so many people, missionaries sent out all over the world, And whenever one very unique thing about the UBF people or UBF missionaries are that everyone seems to be like in a missionary mode. It's like wherever they are, whether in their Germany, whether they're in France or America, they would take on that, the nation's the name. What I'm saying is that, they would take on that and they would use their own language. they adapt so quickly. They're like the indigenous kind of mission-minded people, always working with the native and always there. So I think UBF was really well recognized as a mission network through KIMNET once they were introduced in KIMNET. And I think UBF people, I think they came to most all the meetings. It seems like they were always there present. The whole group was there. All the organization heads, they were there. And I was just amazed how Pastor Choe actually pulled that group together into KIMNET.
Yes, we're talking the same thing. In a classical term, Pastor Sam is not a missionary because he never had a mission field. He only went to Korea, and we cannot claim Korea as a mission field. So although only he lived in two countries, permanent residence was in USA and Korea, two countries, and yet, like you said, his whole focus is being missional. So UBF, he actually brought into the evangelical circle. So all these years, and this is kind of a side phenomenon that people don't even recognize. Now, just as recently as January this year, they calibrate the numbers of Korean missionaries in the world, because we have been claiming globally 27,500 Korean missionaries all over the world, blah, 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 blah. But when we did a global statistic survey, there were 5,000 to 6,000 inflated. The number was inflated by 5,000 to 6,000 because one name was found in 2 different organizations, 3 different organizations. Every organization is claiming John Kim as their missionary. So once he did that, it's 21,000 is the number. Guess what? How much of that is UBF missionary? 7,000.
How many? 7,000. Wow.
So if Pastor Sam did not bring them into the fold, it would be shameful. And yet the most churches in Korea consider UBF cult, and they would not do anything with them. It was Pastor Sam who brought them in and then even the Intercope, when Intercope was going through, hell because of all the major denomination in Korea wanted to grab their facility. It was all money motivated. And yet Pastor Sam brings them. Now, whether I agree or disagree, so because I could have my own opinion about a lot of this theological stuff, but at the same time, as a mission mobilizer, wow, I'm so impressed. And because, Pastor Sam, and this is more personal level, but wants me to engage in that fully, not just sit at Cambodia and run a research center in Cambodia. You think I'm being complacent. So I said, Moksa님, I'm not complacent. I'm doing my best. I'm very busy. I'm trying to write a book for you. But so I think the whole thing, him being missional, is amazing. And he understands. I mean, he's 85 years old. And
he has an incredible memory about, people. It's like the names. He remembers everyone.
Next to Bangil Moksa님, I think this video will really honor him. Other than Bangil Moksa님, he is number 2 man in my life who remembers every details about everybody. I mean, it's like, why do you remember so-and-so's college and what major he was and what year he went? It's like, why do you even care, right? So I think it goes back to that personal caring and then really rejoicing. He's the promoter. He's like one who really, he's like a scout. He's like, he doesn't play basketball well, but he's like, he see a talent and said, you should play for such club because you're, so I really respect him, his selflessness of that,
Yeah,
So-
I remember reading from Oswald Chamber that, as Christians, we are to be like a doormat. And I think Pastor Choe has really been a doormat, like people stepping on to another area of life. He's always made that doormat kind of situation. No one wants to be a doormat, but he's behind the scene, always placing something out for people to, step on. and to go up to the next level. And he enjoys that. That's part of his ministry, that he enjoys other people doing well. So, for me, he's always calling upon me, so, as, how are you doing? Other people, he's always calling. So, although, at first he might seem like a very kind of a not so warm person in leadership, but he's so warm and tender and very caring, like a doormat. Servanthood, I think that's the word. Yeah.
I'm gonna call him his leadership doormat leadership. Well, thank you, brother. It's already been 20 minutes, and I think it will be a good time. So I think my challenge is to now, as I'm talking to you, I think there's two books coming. Number one, I want Mary to put it all together, because Mary is one of the 9 children Pastor Sam and Esther mom had, and I'm the honorary 10th child. So I'm the last child of the Choe family, but I honor Mary because Mary has been compiling all his life stories, and so she would author a book with me, and I'll help her to bring the different perspective from his professional life, and so maybe they'll be helpful. But I do want to write eventually for missiology, study of missiology, the life of a networker, and as you said, how do we really become a great man of peace, being the doormat? So maybe you may have coined a book, Pastor Sam's Leadership, the Doormat Leadership. So anyways, thank you, Joseph. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Lord bless you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.